What's up and good morning, War Report family. It's February the 8th, and we are talking Walker Wright, Walker White, and his recruiting tactics. He's out here putting in work for Hugh Freeze on the recruiting trail. So we're going to talk about how effective of a tactic that is for Auburn football. Hey, let's drop it on him. Good morning, guys. It's your boy Mike G. I'm here with my guy Ike Jones, and we are talking recruiting. Ike, Walker White. White, I don't know why I can't say his name this
Hey,
morning.
it is a tongue twister, bro.
Walker White, the White Walker, if you watch Game of Thrones, is out here recruiting hard for Auburn football.
Yep.
He called out, notably, Bama commit, former Bama commit, Martavius Collins. He decommitted from Bama shortly after. I think we'll get some more news publicly on, what went into that decommitment. But you put together a list of all the guys Walker White has on his wish list.
Yeah.
Is this an effective recruiting strategy? How effective are players recruiting other players to come to the school that they've committed to?
I think it's super effective. Look, good players want to play with good players. This is kind of the nature of the beast of where we are right now, with the way social media works, with the way these AAU teams work. These kids get together for these teams, and they talk a lot during those scenarios, and they want to team up and play together. Like it's just where we are. In the nature of competition is like, hey, I want to stack the deck with the best players, and I think it's more effective when it's a quarterback, but I do think that it's going to be effective. Think about last year. Damari Austin was a champion for our recruiting last year. He was out there actively trying to get guys. The year before, or the year before that, I should say, Damari Austin. Last year it was Frazier. Not Frazier. What's his name? Braden Joyner. Braden Joyner was out there super heavy trying to get guys to come and commit to the school where he was going. So you see it all the time, but I think it being a quarterback makes a difference for sure.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Having a quarterback out there doing the work on the recruiting trail for you is certainly an advantage for Hugh Freeze. So this would be his second recruiting class. Mm-hmm. So we're talking 2024 right now. Walker White is out here putting in the work, letting guys know, hey, come play with me. Now, of the people who he called out, right? Of the people who he called out, it was all offensive. So he's it's some selfish recruiting. He's not recruiting for the defensive side of the ball, but on the list, I want to take a look. I want to pull up the list here. So you got 4 O-linemen here, 5 wide receivers, 2 running backs, an athlete, and 3 tight ends is what he has called out in terms of what he's wishing for. Now, if he needs guys to throw the ball to, certainly. Mm-hmm. He does. I believe Cameron Coleman is a Red Devil, a Central Phoenix City Red Devil.
Oh, okay. I didn't look to see where these guys were from. So
yeah, I want to say
Coleman I saw, but I didn't put him on the graphic.
Is 10 minutes from me at Central High School. And of these other guys, right? Like I said, I mean, going after tight ends and targets and a few running backs. There's one 5-star on this list, and Micah Hudson. He's a Texas Tech lean right now, as you've got him listed. It'll be interesting to see how well regarded a guy who's a 5-star, thinks of something like this coming from another player saying, hey, come play with me. Anything stand out on this list to you? I mean, he definitely understands he needs people to block for him.
Yeah, no, I think, when you listen to him in the video, he started with the linemen, right? Like he started out saying, hey, these are the linemen that I've got my eye on. I just wonder, did he get a list, right? Did like Hugh Freeze and company send him a list and be like, hey, these are the guys that we're going after,
right?
That we're really high on. If you're going to make a mention of some people, or what was that, like a collaborative thing where it's like, hey, when I go out and make my announcement, are there any guys who you guys are having a tough time getting in touch with? I'll go out here and I'll start getting on the campaign trail. Or was this all Walker White, looking through tape and being like, I like this dude, I'm gonna go out here and call him out? I wonder how that got kicked off.
Yeah, I'm interested in that as well too. Is it technically a violation for a coach to ask a player to reach out to somebody?
I have no idea what the rules are around that.
Yeah, we'll have to look into that. We will look into that to see. But obviously, alignment has been an issue at Auburn for recruiting.
Yeah.
They have not recruited linemen at a high level. There's 2 4-stars here, and 2 3-stars here listed. So these guys now doesn't say whether these are right tackles, left tackles, or guards. But I think taking a 4-star from Georgia at this point would be a big deal.
Yeah.
Would it not?
Sure.
You got 2 Clemson leans, so that would make at least 3 players that they've taken from Clemson. There's another Clemson lean and 3-star receiver TJ Moore on this list. But there are a couple of Georgia guys,
especially tight end.
He's looking
right?
at.
Like Georgia has really trotted out some pretty high level tight ends recently. So to steal a tight end from Georgia, I think would be a huge one.
Yeah, I think that would be a big deal as well too. Interesting Nebraska lean. Like whenever I see like Texas Tech, obviously, the SEC has gotten into the Texas market since Texas A&M joined the conference, so they're going and they're recruiting heavy down there. But this is an interesting list of guys. The running back room is going to have some experience by 2024 when he gets here. But we'll see what the state of Auburn football is like in year 2 under Hugh Freeze with this list. So Walker White, he's got an impressive tape. Again, the Cameron Coleman kid actually made a comment about watching his tape and saying that he likes he's got a rocket arm, and I mean he was very complimentary of Walker White's game when he watched the film. So I think it's interesting that it worked to some extent if he's at least gotten
at least it made him pay attention.
Yeah. So if he didn't know who Walker White was before, now he knows. So I just wonder how much was Walker White following these guys before he committed to Auburn?
Yeah.
Or did he get here and or did somebody put the notion in his head, reach out to these guys and try to be a recruiter in the way you said, like Damari Alston was doing when he came in?
Yeah. Yeah, so, I do wonder, kind of what the scenario was that led to that. Walker, if you're out there, come holler at you guys. We can go. Yes. We can talk about that whole situation, man. But I think it's going to be interesting. A lot of these, he has. I always find it funny when these commits come out so strong and say, "Hey, my commitment is firm. I'm not going anywhere. I'm 100%, 1,000%." 50,000% committed or whatever like that. But it will be interesting to see kind of how things play out over this next year in terms of whether or not some of these commitments stick. These guys that are leans or, the predictions are leaning one way or another. Those are the ones that I think are going to be most susceptible. The ones that are already verbally committed somewhere, that's when it's going to get interesting. That's when it's going to be a true flip of like, okay, he committed already. Because listen, you already saw the decommit, right? So we saw the guy who is committed already say, hey, my commitment is back open. And immediately Walker White is out there on social media like, you know what the move is.
Hey, come play with your boy. Now, you mentioned something interesting. Let's talk about the other side of this. Early signing day is in December now. So the secondary signing day seems to mean very little now in today's college football.
Right.
Because most of these kids are signing early, they're graduating early, and they're trying to get into spring ball if they want to have a chance to play as a freshman. But a lot can happen between now and December.
Right.
Right. So does something like this mean he is a solid AU commit? Like, he's the guy? I mean, we had a guy get Auburn tattooed on him and go to Bama.
Yeah. You know what? I think today he believes that he's 100% coming to Auburn.
He believes it. Right,
yeah. I don't know. I don't know what could happen to change his mind though. Right. Like the only thing in my mind that would change his mind is if we go and let's say spring happens, Coach Hugh Freeze not impressed with anybody that's out there, and they go and get some sophomore from somewhere with like 3 years of eligibility in the transfer portal, and that person ends up being the starter. And then you're looking at a guy who's going to be starting for 2, maybe 3 years in front of you. And you're like, oh, this ain't the same picture as it was a couple of months ago when I committed. I don't know. Right. But he made it clear in his commitment video that one of his biggest things was he wanted to go someplace where he felt like he could be developed. Right. So if Coach Hugh Freeze loses Ken Austin in the offseason, right? And he's like, hey, well, that's the guy who I was hoping was going to develop me. Or Philip Montgomery's gone, and that was one of the big reasons why he signed, right? Like those could be things that would precipitate a change in the win.
Right. Now, okay, so again, second pivot here to holding on to staff in year 2.
Mm.
How much do we know about how sold this guy is on the system? Now we know what happened with Calzada and Robbie and Austin Davis.
Right.
It was a little bit of a disaster that Harsin was not able to follow through and get Austin Davis to actually coach here. Those guys were sold on that system. Now, I don't know what system they would necessarily be sold on right now because, per Hugh Freeze's own words, they're still trying to figure out what this offense is going to look like.
Right.
The mesh between what Montgomery and Freeze want to do. Freeze has given every indication that he's going to let Montgomery call plays, but he's still going to be involved.
Right.
You know, Walker White, is he buying into the program more than the system here with this move?
I think the system isn't the thing that sold him. I think he has bought into the vision that was sold to him and what he feels like is going to happen for his furtherance as far as this coaching staff putting him in a position to be great. So I don't think he's saying to himself, man, they have a quarterback that's going to run around a lot. I'm not a running quarterback. I think he feels like they're going to make a system that fits well with what I do, which is I'm going to sling the ball. And that's what they want. That's what they told me they want. And that's why I'm here.
Now, I think mobile means something different as well, too. I mean, there are a lot of guys who aren't technically mobile, but they can move, right? Would we consider Stetson Bennett a mobile quarterback?
Stetson could scoop. Now, he didn't run a lot. There wasn't a lot of design runs, but he could definitely, he was definitely mobile.
He was dual. He was dual, but I would not label him a mobile quarterback.
No.
I think he sat in the pocket and he did his thing. But if you lost track of him, he could burn you with his legs. I think we saw that in the national title game where he got loose, I think, for 2 rushing touchdowns in that game.
He definitely he's got some wheels, but an appreciated portion of his game is his ability to escape the pocket and make a play with his legs.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be something that I think if Walker White can do that, he's going to be okay in Hugh Freeze's offense. Yeah. So you just need to be able to be a threat every once in a while with the ball. And obviously, again, when we take one more look at this list, he's got wide receivers on here, Ike.
Yeah.
Right? He's got receivers on here, and he wants to make sure that the passing game is enough of a threat that once you lull them to sleep through the air, you can take off every once in a while because they, you know what I mean? Like, I just, if we could be multiple in that sense, I think he's got a good shot, especially if he gets some of these guys on this list. My eyes are on Micah Hudson. I mean, when was the last time Auburn had a 5-star receiver?
Ooh, I don't know the answer to that because I'm going to be honest, I am not, y'all know me, I'm not big on keeping up with star ratings and all that kind of stuff. I don't really, as long as they come in and ball, I don't really care.
I want to say that I think he got downgraded to a 4-star because of an injury. But I want to say Nate Craig Myers was a 5-star at one point.
Sounds right.
And then he got injured, but he was like the 6th overall player in the country his junior year. Dave Medlock is jumping in, confirming Nate Craig Myers. I still think he was probably one of the most wasted receivers in Auburn history.
I mean, but what's crazy is he went somewhere else and didn't do anything. That's the thing that baffles my mind. It's like, were we ruining guys? Because they came in super highly touted and then they go elsewhere and then they don't do anything there either. And it's like, was our evaluation just often we were star chasing, or were we ruining players when they got to college? And then, I don't, there's so much to be said about the last 8 years of Auburn football that I am perplexed by.
Yeah, I'm leaning we were ruining players. So hopefully that stops under Hugh Freeze. We hope that stops under Hugh Freeze. And Auburn can get back to not only not ruining players, but helping springboard them into the next phase of their careers. So we definitely want to keep an eye on that and see what happens there with Walker White out here actively recruiting for Auburn football. Guys, you're watching The Morning Drop. Today's show is brought to you by The Rogue Shop. RogueShop.com. Use code REPORTER to get 15% off. They got stuff to help you with sleep, stress, anxiety. My personal favorite are the candles. Now, you've heard me talk about these candles They're they're a whole experience. And you need these candles. So visit rogueshop.com. Shout out to our guy Richard for being a longtime sponsor of the War Report. We appreciate them over there. Now, let's get to the chat here. We got about 100 of you guys in here this morning. Our guy, Peepas, says, good morning, fam. I love the idea. No different than old boss recruiting to new company. Right? I love the idea, too. I think, at the end of the day, as long as the coaches aren't breaking any rules involving themselves, there's nothing wrong with encouraging a player to speak up if their commitment is as solid as White's appears to be. So
yeah, because I mean that's part of the danger too, though, right? Like you get the player to do a lot of the commitment hunting for you. If that player flips, then your entire class falls apart, right?
Right. And how many of those guys stay on if he flips? So now I will say this. There's another recruiting tool that may play a role in the firmness of his commitment, and that's NIL. So, we don't know what his potential NIL deal is looking like, or, if that's been talked about or negotiated, or at what point can they even start talking about that?
Yeah, I don't even know how much you can do that until they sign. Like, I mean, you can make some promises, I guess, but I don't think that they can do anything until it's the NIL is. I mean, not the NIL, the national letter of intent
is actually signed.
Isn't signed. Yeah.
Auburn dad comes in and says, we need a linchpin recruit to pull the other best players to come and build something special. Is Walker White the linchpin recruit at this point? I mean, he's a quarterback.
Yeah. I mean, I think quarterbacks are always going to be a focal point of a recruiting class, especially when you're trying to build something new with your program. You're trying to say, hey, this is the guy we brought in, that we tabbed to be the guy for the next couple of years, and that helps to pull in other, especially like wide receivers. Like wide receivers want to know the guy throwing the ball is gonna be a dude, right? And so to get better receivers, you have to land better quarterback talent. To get better quarterback talent, though, you need good offensive linemen, and so it's got to be there's complementary pieces, but I do think that it does start with having a quality quarterback that invites other top players to say, hey, I'm going to be the guy running this thing. It's more attractive to go play with that guy than it is to play with somebody who they don't trust is going to make the right decisions with the football.
Michael Carlisle says, a quick off topic. Yeah. My son got his acceptance to AU for the fall 2023 War Damn Eagle. Congratulations to your son.
Yeah.
For making good life choices.
Yeah.
Right. You raised him right, at least. He's not headed to the junkyard up north. Marco comes back and says he had to know who Coach Freeze was after. Maybe was told to pay attention to the big board on his visit. Which is an interesting comment here. So I'm not sure about that. Corey Weber, longtime listener, jumping in and just saying, morning to the Morning Drop fan.
If I'm not mistaken, it's Corey's birthday today. If I'm wrong, correct me, Corey. But happy birthday if it is. Man.
What? Okay, happy birthday, Corey. Todd Jordan says Trevon Reed was a 5-star athlete. I would have to look that up. I don't remember him being a 5-star, but I wouldn't be shocked by that.
I can't tell you that I pay a ton of attention to any of that stuff.
Now, stars mattered a lot less back then, but YT Burner counts as Ben Obumanu.
I might be wrong before you guys go overboard saying it's Corey's birthday. Corey's got to confirm it before y'all go crazy with that.
Don't send Corey any birthday cards just yet.
Yeah.
Ben Obumanu, I remember Ben had a lot of hype coming in. As a true freshman, they remarked on his speed, height, right, his length, his catch radius, and recruiting services were very different back then. But it didn't have all the hubbub that it has now. But he was a big time receiver coming in. Him and Devin Aroma should do. Todd Jordan jumps back in to confirm. Craig Myers was 2016. Next 5-star was Obumanu in 02. Yeah. I'm still salty about Craig Myers. I just think that could have been so much more.
Yeah, he had a ton of potential.
Jay Sykes says, will Hugh be the coach that gets us in with Phoenix City schools? Now, let's talk about this for a second. Recruiting right down the road from your home has gone poorly for Auburn. We have let some studs get out of Phoenix City. Justin Ross comes to mind. Just some kids. There was another receiver that ended up going out west that was in Harsin was targeting. His name is escaping me right now, but he was a receiver. How does Hugh Freeze? Is it just showing up? It doesn't feel like Gus was having a ton of success in Phoenix City as well.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is with the inability to close the kids that were right there in the backyard in the last couple. Corey said it's the 24th. Okay, so it is this month. It's just not this early. My bad. I
Okay.
jumped the gun.
Hey.
I jumped the gun. But it is Auburn Dad's birthday tomorrow. So happy birthday to him.
Happy
early.
birthday, Auburn Dad.
But yeah, I don't know what the deal is with the inability to get into the Phoenix City area, man. Like, you're from that area. Is it Bama country there? Like, are there just a bunch of Bama fans walking around?
Listen, I may have to go sit down with Patrick Nix and talk about why his kids are choosing schools other than Auburn.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously his kid chose Auburn at least for 3 years, right? I'm interested to hear, is it just not an effective recruiting pitch? Do kids want to get further away from home? Or does Auburn just lack the current, the current prestige that schools like Clemson offer with recent titles and things of that nature? I really thought that winning a title in 2010 would kind of springboard Auburn forward into that next echelon of recruiting. Like, you can win a title here. You can win it all here. It was, we had the undefeated season in 2004, but it didn't really have the luster because they didn't play for it. They didn't have to beat USC or Oklahoma that year, even though they beat Virginia Tech in the Sugar Bowl. So I'll just be really interested to see what kids are saying, and what their coaches are saying down at Phoenix City about, hey, was it, what would you say was the main issue with Auburn recruiting this area? It's so close and there's so much talent down there.
Yeah, we know the last staff, just the relationships with those coaches just wasn't where it needed to be. But, the issues that we've had in recruiting predate Coach Brian Harsin and his staff. And so it is going to be, it's quite the change in momentum necessary to get those top quality athletes to believe in a vision that says Auburn can put you in the right position for your professional career, and we're going to win championships while you're here.
Right. So listen, let's go back to this list for a second, just one more time. Of the kids that Walker White has called out, again, you've got 3 Clemson leans here. Micah Hudson is looking at Texas Tech. There are a few Auburn leans in here already, and some UGA leans. So, if any of these kids, let's hypothetically speaking, if any of these kids were from Phoenix City, going out to Texas Tech and down to FSU and Nebraska baffles me a little bit. What's out in Nebraska? Really?
I mean, some people want to get away from home, and they got sold on a vision of, because you could say the same thing about, like, why are you in California and you want to come all the way to freaking Tuscaloosa, Alabama to play football? You want to go win football games. So
that's true.
If the coach is selling you the right vision and they believe in the trajectory of the program, you can get a kid to move from anywhere. So
I feel like Clemson is trending down right now. And of the schools on this list, the only school that really is hot is Georgia, right? Like, the Georgia leans are, it's obvious why a kid would want to go to Georgia right now.
I think Florida State is trending in the right direction. We'll see what Nebraska does. They definitely have a new coach in, they don't have much. They don't have anywhere to go but up from where they were as far as where they should be. So we'll see. But yeah, to your point, the only one that's actually already got something established is Georgia that's on this list.
Yeah, I just find it curious. Hopefully Auburn can not mess this up under Hugh Freeze. They're going to be doing their best. Guys, I want to thank everybody for joining us. We're going to get out of here. This is your morning drop. Is Walker White the guy to get more 5-stars in the door for Hugh Freeze? We're definitely going to keep an eye on it. Follow us on Twitter. Also, follow the Rogue Shop on Twitter and visit them at rogueshop.com. Use code RAPPORT to get 15% off that order. Make sure you tell them that the War Rapport sent you. Guys, we're signing off, and we'll see you guys tomorrow on the next drop.